Joe, thank you so much for coming on the AIM podcast.
Thanks for having me. This is early morning Saturday, and I am ready to roll. I've already knocked out Murph this morning, and I got some great scriptures that were sent to me and texts that got me motivated. One of them said something along the lines of, we think we're carrying around this heavy burden, this heavy weight around our neck, but actually what it is, it's holding us down underwater so that we could find the pearls. And I read that and I thought, we are literally the only company. I feel like some days I'm the only guy selling hard, selling discipline, selling commitment, selling, I don't know, struggle. And somewhere along the line, sorry I'm going down this rabbit hole, but I was thinking a lot about it this morning while
I
I was
love
working.
it.
Somewhere along the line, somebody got the bright idea to sell easy, to sell convenience, to sell um, I don't know, happiness, right? But it's a trap. I think people buy $150 pair of sneakers or $80,000 car thinking it's going to bring you happiness because the ads have figured out how to sell you that. But it's what you do with those sneakers that brings happiness, right? It's not the thing. And some days I feel like, fuck, I'm fighting the whole world. I'm fighting everybody. Like, stop chasing like easy. Anyway, sorry, that was this morning's rant.
No, I love it. And I mean, it tees up nicely kind of how I wanted to get into this. You stand for very distinct core values that I truly believe more people need to live by. And I love what you've done. And I'll circle back on this with kind of promoting these values into the youth. You've done a lot of really good things with young people. Where did you get these values and how did you get to this point where you're able to speak confidently on how important these things are in your life?
It's a great question. I mean, I grew up in a crazy neighborhood in Queens, New York, and certainly those values weren't being promoted. What was being promoted was everybody had an attempt to get ahead as quickly as possible. And if that meant stealing something or killing somebody or doing whatever, you did what you had to do. But my mom found yoga, meditation, health food um, in the early 70s, way before Lululemon existed, way before, the yoga journals and the, Whole Foods. And so she started pushing these ideas into the house, which ultimately led to divorce because these were strange concepts. And I wasn't buying into any of it. I didn't. My mom was a crackpot. Like I wasn't. This is crazy stuff, crazy talk. People are meditating in the room. They're coming in with orange robes and beads. And um, but later, fast forward, I'm probably late 20s, and I don't know, something hit me. I think I was working on Wall Street. I was making good money. I was going to dinner 3 times a night to try to, woo clients. And I think I went out and did something really hard physically. Um, and my mind started to shift. And I started doing yoga. And I started thinking about what makes me happy, right? Like what fulfills me, and it's not all this stuff. And so my wife and I have 4 children, and then you start thinking about how do you instill those values in your children. But even beyond that, nothing makes me happier than taking young people and torturing them in a good way to try to instill these values you ask about. Um, because so many billionaires send me their kids, and I say to myself, they have all the resources in the world. Why am I getting these kids? Because those resources aren't the right resources. They've been misappropriated with the children, right? If anything, um, if anything, all that stuff is a curse for that child. That privilege is a curse. And so then it goes back to what I originally started this conversation with, which is we sell struggle, we sell hard, we sell commitment, we sell discipline, and um, and if you could help me convince the world that they need it, because that brings true happiness. That brings true fulfillment. Then it'll make my job a lot easier.
That's so good. I love it. I think you did. I think I heard it on your episode with Rich Roll where you talked about like, Kevin Hart's kids growing up in a mansion like that and living that lifestyle. And it's tough to sometimes develop some of those values when you have a lot, there's a lot given to you. I think going through something difficult as a young person is super, super valuable as long as you're kind of guided and led the right way by some good mentors that can kind of show you how to get through that, but use it also strategically to push you forward and to develop that foundation. But I think it's really important to go through tough stuff.
Yeah, my kids are at a I got my girls doing a half Murph every day. They're in New York with my wife, and then I got my boys are at a Fargo wrestling camp this weekend. They just came off my death camp for 10 days. My death camp was insane. It started at 5 a.m. every morning with Murph. It it was, I can't even tell you how many rope climbs with weighted vests, carrying 80-pound bags of cement up the mountain. It was 14-hour, 16-hour days every day for these kids. And the kids, they did it. They did it. And they smiled and they were happy and they were accomplished. And, you know, they'd come back. And so, listen, I get to be on a lot of podcasts. I get to interview a lot of people, a lot of experts, and I had no idea the brain, our brains, um, they record hard stuff. So the neuroscientists, the neurosurgeons can actually see tracks, start to finish when someone took on something hard and completed it, and they see gaps in the brain when they quit.
Mm.
And so I tell all the kids, you got to lay some tracks in those brains, right? We don't want any gaps. Who the hell wants gaps? And between like 8 and 15 years old, those are critical moments to lay a lot of tracks on the brain, because those tracks help you finish and complete other things in the future.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the biggest thing that I've seen from doing hard things or going through hard things is confidence, like the confidence that it builds within. And then it just prepares you for that next challenge that you're going to face. But I think shying away from those moments and turning your head to them, when stuff happens that's inevitable, that's going to be hard, you're going to get rocked. And I don't think you'll be as prepared to take those things on.
100% aligned.
I love it, man. So you talked about kind of growing up and dealing with some of that tougher stuff. I want to talk about, your pool business, because I think that's a pretty interesting staple in your story. Where did you first develop your love for kind of business and hustle and trying to obviously make money, but also, what were some of the kind of key learnings from that endeavor that kind of set you up for where you are now?
Yeah, my parents were going through that divorce, and my neighbor was the head of the Banana organized crime family. And, up the street was the guy who killed Paul Castellano at Sparks in that famous shooting. And further down the block was John Gotti, and around the corner was John Gotti's brother. So for whatever reason, everybody in organized crime lived in this neighborhood. This was a hot spot for organized crime. If the feds wanted to catch them, they could have literally just tapped one phone wire in and out of the whole neighborhood. Like, it didn't even make sense.
Wow.
But it was sort of, we talk about it now, we smile because now the movies have come out or whatever. But back then it was like you respected those. They had nice houses, big cars, like whatever they were doing correctly in your mind, right? And I was a young person. My parents are going through that divorce. My neighbor says, hey, why don't you clean my pool? I'll pay you $35 a week. I'll teach you the ropes. It's very common for guys in that line of work to grab young people and see who had the hustle and who didn't. And I definitely had a kick in my step. And he sat me down the first day I was at his house. I don't even think I was 13 years old. And he said, listen, if you're going to be here at 8 o'clock, you better be here at 7:45. On time is late. Secondly, if you're going to clean the pool, you better go above and beyond the job, clean the shed, do other stuff as well, make yourself invaluable. Number 3, never ask for money. You'll get paid if you do good work, if you deserve it, which is contradictory to anybody getting in business. You want to put your hand out, you want to ask for money, but those three lessons have really guided me through life, along with the 5,000 other lessons I got from my father. My father was amazing at not even not even letting me know he was teaching me, but he was teaching me, any chance he got related to business. And mom was teaching me all these values. But anyway, the business grew and grew and grew because I stuck to those things I learned. I ended up paying for college with it, and when I got out of college, quite honestly, any job offer I had received was a fraction of what I was making already in this business. So I decided to stick with it. Plus, I wanted to be around all those tough guys, and now I owned a backhoe and a bobcat, and I had a building and trucks, and you feel rugged. And so, plus I was physically working every day. Now we were doing construction work and brickwork and mixing cement, and I didn't even know why, right? I felt so alive, sweating, being outside every day in a world where we spend 92% of our time inside. And so anyway, the business grew and grew and grew. And then later in life, I don't know, I was 25 years old. It's a long story, but I ended up pivoting, selling the business, and going to Wall Street.
Oh, what was that transition like? 'Cause I'm sure it's a totally different lifestyle.
It was hard. I had a buddy who I had met in college, an older gentleman who managed a lot of money. He saw my hustle and he said, "You're wasting your time with this pool business." But I couldn't really grasp that because I was making money and it was growing. And when you're young and things are going somewhat well, you can't really see way down the road. I was young, but he could see down the road for me, and kept pushing me, go to Wall Street, go to Wall Street. One day he gave me a stock tip. I made a bunch of money in one day, and I was like, I'm going to Wall Street. This is so much better than cleaning swimming pools. So I pivoted, sold my business to my employees. It still exists today. I'm very proud when I go into the neighborhood in Queens and I see that business and I see those guys that work for me. They've done incredibly well. That legacy is amazing to still exist there. So, going from owning your own business and being the big man on campus to a peon on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange and getting yelled at and screamed at, you can't answer phones quick enough and you can't do the math quick enough. And literally I'm tearing up, right? Because yesterday I was the boss. Now I can't even hold my own with these guys. Tough transition, but reflecting back on it, something that we should all do. We should all, whenever we're on top, we should actually go back down to the bottom and get a little taste of that again, because it's so easy to become complacent, and complacency kills. So anyway, I fumbled around on Wall Street for a while, and then I finally figured it out. I started my own business because I've had sometimes in life it pays not to have a lot of knowledge, because if you have too much knowledge, you can talk yourself out of things. And so I was so new to the industry that I think, and I owned my own business, and so I didn't know what I didn't know, and I just took a chance and started a company, and the first one failed, and then I recovered real quickly, and we had a really successful run. We built a trading firm. We got it to about 50 people. We were doing, I don't know, call it 50 million in revenue at that point, which was tremendous for a kid from Queens. And I ended up selling it and met my wife, bought a farm in Vermont to get back to that feeling that I had when I was outside and using my hands, and all those preachings I got from my mom,
And then this is where Spartan comes into the picture.
Yeah, Spartan probably started with my mom unknowingly. My mom was pushing the yoga, the meditation. She had introduced me to a 3,100-mile foot race in Queens, New York, but I wasn't interested in that. I was interested in the $3,100 I can get by doing that. I was not interested in that nonsense. So somewhere deep in the subconscious were these thoughts and ideas around doing athletic things or doing hard things. And we bought the farm. It's 2000. I had now participated by then in my life. I had participated in crazy events all over the world. And I thought, wow, these are really life-changing events. The same way yoga is, or meditation, or anybody that finds their practice and their thing, right? That becomes their discipline. What I found was that when I signed up for one of these crazy races, I woke up early. I went to bed early. I didn't have a drink. I didn't eat the cookie. Like my whole life became maniacally disciplined because in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, I had this event coming. And I was like, oh, this is just like Rocky Balboa. He got out of shape, but then when he had a fight on the calendar, he had to get in shape. And so that was a tape that played in my head. So I just said, I'm going to always have a race. I'm always going to have something coming. The same way that when a student has a test coming, the student buckles down and studies. And left to our own devices as human beings, we don't do the work unless there's a pending disaster down the road, right? So anyway, I bought the farm with my wife. We were going to have goats, chickens, and I couldn't help but play around with this idea in my head that we could put on events and I could change lives. And so Spartan was born 22 years ago, and it was started with my crazy race called the Death Race.
How did you come up with the actual like concept of like the race, the design of the race, to actually like what the people did when they got there? How did you come up with that?
Don't forget, I was racing a lot myself, right? I was running around the world, starting in the mid 1990s, doing kayak races and running races and biking races, anything to help me feel alive and get off the trading desk on Wall Street. And I did not believe in creating a race where people crawled under barbed wire or climbed over wall. Like that sounds silly to me. But every time I tried to put on an event and convince people to come do it, where we were gonna like run through the mountains for 26 miles or kayak across some crazy set of lakes, I got very little takers. Very, very few people actually wanted to do this stuff. So I kept playing with the product until I got to a place where people actually came outside, like zombies. They started walking down the street and came to the event. And that first format that finally worked and attracted people was this idea around a set of obstacles. And at first I didn't think, oh, the obstacles emulate life's obstacles, right? And it breaks up the monotony of running, and people have to train for those individual obstacles. And over time, we kept tweaking it. My staff, my team, many of whom are still with us, created some amazing. I mean, the spear throw. Spear throw was genius, right? Because it was like, for so many years on this planet, we've thrown a spear. We lost that skill. So anyway, we've had a lot of fun with it. It looks like, knock on wood, 2028 will be in the Olympics in a short format. So yeah, exciting times.
I personally just love hearing how people built communities. I think it's super powerful when you can bring people together and get buy-in and be able to, pursue something that's really important. We had Nick Bear on recently, and I think he's done a good job with BPN and with that community, but Spartan is special. And I think to see the way that you've taken that idea, created a product that people are excited about, and now scaled that in such a large way, that doesn't obviously happen by mistake. And so, yeah, I mean, what was the biggest key to growing the community that strong?
I remember the first event, I had somebody from Discovery Channel there. His name was Tom Caliandro, and Tom said, I can't believe I remember his name. And Tom said to me, "Oh my God, do you see what's happening here?" And I said, "No, what's happening?" He said, "Look at these people at the start line, which was like 20 yards from the finish line, right? They'd go around and do a loop and come out." He said they are literally transformed. And look at them high-fiving and hugging each other. And people that didn't even know each other when they got to the start line now know each other at the finish line. And this is not only transformative, this is like church. And and I was watching it happen before my eyes. And so before you know it, we had a community, not just a community that was in Vermont, but a community that was all of a sudden in Canada, and then the UK, and go down the list in all these countries. Unbelievable how it all came together. And I guess it is a bit like the modern church for folks that actually don't want to go, to church, or to follow some form of religion, right? This becomes their thing, and it's healthy, and it's uplifting, and the people around them hold them accountable. So you could see. Plus, there's a badge of honor, right? Like when you have this Spartan logo on your chest, like you people look, and it gives you like a little kick in your step.
No, I love that. I agree. I mean, I definitely that's the brand is recognizable, and you kind of know what you're getting when you talk to someone who's been through that experience. Was there a defining moment in throughout? I mean, I'm sure you guys are still crushing it and growing, but was there a defining moment that you can think of that really changed the game for you guys? And you were like, if that was a big moment for us and what we did.
I think when we launched the World Championship in Killington, Vermont, when we went to Sparta, Greece, that kind of etched our way into history and like legacy. I think I think when the pros started to like make it their job to come out and do these events, I think it showed that there was something here. Um, I can't think of an exact moment where something changed. I moved my family to Asia to build out Asia. 25,000 kids showed up to a Spartan race in China. Um, and I think that network effect around the whole world helped for sure.
No doubt. And now you guys, excuse me, now you guys are in over 40 countries.
Over 40 countries, yeah.
That's incredible. How was dealing with the pandemic? I know that played a massive, it was a massive hurdle that you guys had to navigate around, doing so much stuff in person. How did that kind of make an impact on the business, and how did you guys have to adapt and figure out ways to overcome that?
Pandemic was a disaster. I'm still feeling the pain from the hangover from that. I mean, we got shut down. We got shut down from 350 events to three. We had 350,000 tickets sold by that point. Couldn't refund. That's 35 million. Couldn't refund the people. Had to just promise them a race in the future. They weren't too happy about that. Had to stay in touch with our community that you asked about, so we immediately started creating a ton of media. So that was good. We holed up on my farm in Vermont, 10 of us, and we just produced media all day, every day. But it was definitely a disaster, and it's amazing as a company that we're still alive. Amazing.
I couldn't imagine having to lead such a large organization through a time like that. That would have been challenging.
Yeah, that was the easy part because I think I was working out 4 times a day, producing content on the farm, and like just a busybody. The hard part's now, actually, trying to rebuild from the ashes. If you shut a factory down for 2.5 years and, all the oil in the factory gets caked up and the machines rust a little bit, and then you try to turn everything back on overnight like we're doing, it's no easy feat. So now is the tricky part.
No doubt. Now you've got a lot going on. You speak, you've got the podcast, obviously you're running this incredible business. How do you manage to find time to train and prioritize that? And then how do you also train currently? How do you structure your training?
Early morning, just I got my workout done this morning, and then I'll probably do another. I'll most likely do another workout in the next 4 hours here, just because I like to watch the kids wrestle. So I don't like to waste time. So I see a lot of dads and a lot of moms watching their kids wrestle, just standing there for an hour and a half, and I think, why wouldn't you get on a bike and be biking while you're watching your kid? Like any chance I get to integrate my workout with my life, um, I do. I just don't. I don't like to waste time. So I get on kicks regarding my workouts. For I don't know how many years, 3, 4 years, I carried a kettlebell everywhere I went because it was like a free workout. Like I could climb stairs carrying the kettlebell. I got to go through the airport. But I lost so many kettlebells flying from place to place because they would take them at the airport. I got annoyed with it. It just became ridiculous. So I gave that up. Um, I did 300 burpees every day for I don't know how many years. I was on that kick for a while. I got bored of those. So my last 19 days, my new kick, my friend Nick does Murph, I don't know, 4 or 5 days a week. So I've been trying to do it every day. So I got my daughters, like I told you, doing half Murph. I'm 19 days in, I think, at this point. Now I tweak it a little bit. So today, rather than the run, I'll probably do. I already did my squats, my push-ups, my pull-ups, but I'll get on an Airdyne bike. I'll knock out 300 calories rather than the run. Um, so it's customized, but I'm calling it Spartan Murph.
Spartan Murph. I love it. Well, you talk about these kicks you go on, and I think they're super cool, but a lot of them, if I'm not mistaken, have a way deeper meaning. Like the kettlebell story. That was one of the most interesting things I heard on your episode with Joe Rogan. Obviously, the airplane thing was super interesting, but the reason you did it was to help somebody, and I think that there's something deeper there that's pretty impactful.
Yeah, that was a guy named Chris Davis. I was helping him lose a bunch of weight. He was 696 pounds. We got him down to 265, and he and I would get in fights every day because he didn't believe in the diet I had him on. He didn't believe in the exercise routine. He didn't believe in anything. But really, what was happening, because I've done this 10 million times. I've had 10 million people do one of our races somewhere in the world. He was just complaining about the work. He wasn't really complaining about the diet or the. He didn't want to eat vegetables. He didn't want to walk 10 miles a day carrying a sandbag. I said, look, I'll carry weight as you lose weight. But I was carrying around a 100-pound sandbag for a while, and I was like, geez, I can't carry around a 100-pound sandbag. And I was actually flying to Asia for the first time with my family because we were moving to Asia. And I dropped the 100-pound sandbag at the security, when they run it through the machine, and they were like, "You can't carry a 100-pound sandbag on the plane." And so I had to hand it to a friend who was dropping us off. And so then when I landed in Asia, I said to my wife, "Look, I feel like a fraud. I have to carry something. Can you get me a 20 pound kettlebell, please?" So she went on Amazon in Japan, and things got a little screwed up, and I ended up with a 20 kg kettlebell, which is over 40 pounds. So I wasn't gonna be the guy that returned the Spartan guy returns the kettlebell because it's too heavy. So I ended up carrying around a 20 kg kettlebell for quite some time.
Yeah, the stories of how the different airports would react to that was so funny. Some of them said, like, if it's God's will, you'll get this back or something like that.
Crazy, all around the world. Every country treated my kettlebell differently.
Oh man, I love it. Now you guys make your own kettlebells.
Now we make our own kettlebells. Yeah,
you had to just make it in house. You were buying too many.
exactly.
I love it, man. But this has been really fun, man. And I know we touched on it. Kind of the last thing I just want to touch on was your passion for the youth. You've created some incredible events just catered towards that market. Where do you kind of see that going? And is that kind of a main focus for you? And why is that so important right now?
Kids for me is fun. If I could do anything all day, every day, it would just be torturing kids in a good way. I have kids, and kids are so malleable, and I feel like I can make a tremendous impact. It's harder to take a 21-year-old or a 40-year-old and transform them. It's so easy to take a kid and turn them into a Green Beret. So yeah, so my dream would be to be completely aligned with the Department of Defense, and while they go through these recruiting challenges and can't seem to attract kids, but even the kids they attract can't pass the test. I think I could solve that problem for the DoD in about 7 minutes. So that would be my dream.
How do you get some of these kids to buy in? Because I'm sure that's probably one of the most difficult parts of that experience. I'm sure there's a lot of pushback.
When I tell the kids death camp, it's intriguing to a kid, um, right? Like they're somewhat attracted. They're scared, but they're attracted to that scared. So so yeah, look, I'm not. It's not Disneyland. I'm not getting 60 million kids. Uh, but if the parents are open minded to making their kids high performers, I get them.
I love that. Well, Joe, I really appreciate you coming on the AIM podcast, and I just appreciate your line of work and what you stand for and what you're doing in the world. So I just wanted to thank you for that, and this has been a really fun episode.
You're the man. Thanks for having me.
Let's go.